Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on my channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to take a look at 10 balance changes to the 10 best brawlers in the game and the 10 worst brawlers in the game, and hopefully Supercell are watching and some of these get introduced into the game. And just quickly, make sure you subscribe if you're not already. We're getting close to that 200k, and without further ado, let's jump into it then. So the first brawler that is definitely on the nerf list, and it's the only brawler I really care about right now, is Larry and Laurie. The game's unplayable pretty much unless you've got Larry and Laurie on your team, so I want them to get the Hank treatment. I don't want to see them ever again. They're so broken. So I think they should get about 6 nerfs, in all honesty. They're so busted. So the first one is going to be the supercharge rate. It should go from 5 hits to around 9 or 10 hits. Literally, the robot is just so broken, but it's kind of, in a way, fun. So I hope they don't nerf Laurie too much. But yeah, that's probably a good nerf. Next one, HP. They've got the combined HP of Frank, so nerfing both of their HP is going to be a good start. Nerfing their damage as well. Again, you could just shred through people with a couple of main attack bursts. It's just way too much. Larry definitely needs a nerf in that department. They also need a nerf in both star powers. So Protocol Protect needs a nerf to at least 50%, maybe even 25% in transfer damage. It's way too broken. Invulnerability is just not fun in Brawl Stars. And the Assist star power as well is really broken in Heist, so not being able to get your ammo back from the Heist safe would be a good way to balance that one out. And then lastly, order fallback. I think 33% of max health is too much healing, probably just around 25%. That's a sweet spot. But yeah, multiple nerfs are needed with these brawlers. So next up, hopefully on the nerf list, we have Maisie. So she's just been breaking the meta right now, and it's kind of crazy how she can get a hypercharge faster than other brawlers can get their super. So I think it's just pretty evident. You can combine both, just nerfing Maisie and her hypercharge by reducing, well, actually increasing the amount of shots it takes to get her super. So right now it takes 3 shots, just upping that to 4 shots should be a good way to balance her and not make her way too oppressive cycling those hypercharge. So next up, hopefully on the nerf list, we have Fang. So again, he's just been running all over ladder, and he has been for a few months now. So I think the good quick fix would be, especially because this will affect his hypercharge as well, it's just by nerfing his super damage. We see that constantly go up and down, and it's literally a thin line between making Fang broken and just making him like decent in the meta. So just like a 3 or 5% nerf to his super damage should be enough to tone him down. So next up, hopefully on the nerf wish list, we have Pearl. So I was unsure on how to really nerf Pearl, because I think the only big problem with her is, especially on passive game modes, where you can combine Overcooked and just one-shot so many brawlers, which again is just sign of a good gadget. Maybe that needs to be nerfed a little bit. Or if you're looking to nerf her in another way, I think just nerfing her HP. You combine that with the shield, it's just too much HP, and it's really hard to take her down. So just like a 3% HP nerf would be sufficient. So next up, hopefully on the nerf wish list, we have Miko. Again, I really struggle to find ways to balance out Miko, because I don't think he's toxic, but he's definitely on the stronger side if you know how to play him. I think maybe the way to kind of nerf him without killing him is just by nerfing his super damage, taking away a little bit of DPS. I think that's the best thing about him, to be honest. His super, once you get that first one, you can just cycle so quickly. So just nerfing it by a couple of hundred of damage should be enough to make him not too oppressive. So next up, hopefully on the nerf wish list, we have Leon. So of course he went from like a D tier brawler all the way up into a top 3 brawler in the game right now. And I think the main problem with that is the fact that he can cycle through hypercharges pretty quickly again. So I'll just like a small nerf to his supercharge rate, probably like to 3 to 5%, making it harder to get his first super, because of course once you get one super Leon, it's almost inevitable you're going to cycle another one with that first super. So yeah, just nerf it a little bit, and in turn that will nerf his hypercharge. So next up, hopefully on the nerf wish list, we have Spike. Again, he's still a top 10 brawler in the game, and he has been for the longest time. But it's actually hard to come up with a nerf for Spike, because it could quite easily make him one of the worst brawlers in the game. Of course, we don't want that with Spike, but I've been asking for this for years now. I would just like for Curveball's effectiveness to be decreased by some amount, even if it's 1%. I'm just asking for a Curveball nerf. That will at least tone him down a little bit. So next up, hopefully on the nerf wish list, we have Amber. So her attack damage got increased by 10% a couple of months ago, and it's made her pretty much an S tier brawler in the game right now. So I would like the same treatment as the bow nerf, somewhere in between, right? So before she used to deal 400 damage, and it's been up to 440, so somewhere around 420 damage should be enough, because she was pretty lackluster before the buff. So next up on the wish list we have Bow, and even though he received a nerf to his damage and his super recharge rate, I still feel like he's such an incredible brawler, because even the smallest of damage buffs can really leapfrog Bow into like a D tier to like a high A tier brawler. So I'd actually just like maybe a HP nerf, something a little bit different. I don't know, because of course nerfing his damage is just going to make him trash again. And lastly, for the nerf wish list, we've got Charlie. So Charlie still is one of the best brawlers in the game, and a big reason has to be for the Spider's gadget and her super. So I'd like a small nerf to the Spider's gadget again. It just tanks way too much, and you have 4 uses of it. It's just way too cheesy. It's a free lane all of the time. So nerf the HP again with spiders, and I would probably like another nerf with the cocoon, because it's still an absolute free kill. So maybe upping the supercharge rate by an extra shot, or making it so the opponent that is cocooned, let them be free maybe an extra second quicker, so that gives Charlie less time to heal up, or enemies to of course get that ammo back. So gives them a little bit of a fighting chance. So now we're moving on to the buff wish list now, and a lot of these brawlers could easily be getting a hypercharge with the next update, and a lot of them probably need a rework, because fundamentally they'll just always be trash in the game. So starting off with Frank, of course, one of the worst brawlers in the game right now. He definitely needs a rework of some time, removing some type of attack delay or super delay, or just something to him, extra range. I don't know. He needs a rework, and it's pretty evident because he's receiving no buffs, so that's obviously in the works. But for now, just buff his HP. That's always the way to solve Frank, right? Next up, hopefully on the buff wish list, we have Hank. So you guys know I have a devoted love for this brawler. And, you know, Hank, he just sucks. He does, doesn't he? So I think he needs one of 2 things adding back again. I still stand by the fact that he needs to be healing whilst charging his bubble. It just feels weird to me that one brawler out of 76 just cannot heal throughout the whole game, because it just doesn't make sense. You need to always be charging up your bubbles. So even if they've reduced the healing by like 80%, like something crazy, just so you're at least healing, or at least a heal gadget or something. I don't know, he needs something. And also maybe make it so when he's inside of a bush, he's not revealed until like 25% of the bubble is charged up, or 33%. That would be nice, because right now he's just so easy to counter. The next up on the buff wish list, we have Doug. So I sound like a broken record. These same 3 brawlers need a buff or a rework or something. So for me, Doug maybe could do with a tank trait. So at least if he dies 2-3 times in a row, he's able to get a free super, and that's when he can start making a lot of plays. Or it could add like maybe a new trait to him. I've been seeing that idea floating around a lot. Or just simply increase his radius for now. Even if his attack radius is only 1 point, and then his healing is a little bit larger. I don't know. He needs a complete rework. So next up on the wish list, we have BB. So again, another brawler that's always on this list. Last time we recommended maybe like a resistance gear or a trait or something like that. I mean, at least just give her some love for now, because I find it so frustrating to play her. So maybe just increasing her home run star power by an extra 3%, because that's one of the best things about her, being able to juke in the open and get close to the opponents. So I'll just like for something. So next up, hopefully on the buff wish list, we have Sprout. So if you're playing ladder, Sprout is definitely one of the hardest brawlers to push. He's still good in Power League, so it's hard to kind of balance this brawler, because we've seen Sprout when he was released, he was broken, and in competitive for the longest time, he was so incredibly strong. So I don't want to overbuff him too much, so maybe just buff one of his star powers, maybe make overgrowth every 4 seconds, or buff his photosynthesis star power, so he's a little bit more tankier when inside of a bush. He just needs something, because he just gets wrecked on ladder. So next up on the wish list, we have Chester. So again, another brawler that's been on this list for like a year now, but he needs some type of rework. It shouldn't be a big one. It should just be with his star power Bella Mania. It should just be baseline. There shouldn't be a star power ever where you need to use it every single time in a brawler, and then just create another star power. It'll make Chester feel a lot more fresh and a lot more viable, because you'll have 2 star powers to choose from. So next up on the wish list, we have Penny. So although I don't really want her to return to her former glory like last year, she is suffering a lot, especially from the lack of DPS. So many brawlers got HP buffs or just HP stat increases from hypercharges, and she can't keep up. So at least until they get hypercharges, give her an attack damage buff by 2 or 3%, just to give her a little bit more of an So next up on the buff wish list, we have El Primo. So again, he's just falling right down the meta, because he doesn't even counter tanks anymore. That's how bad he is. So I think one way you could buff him just easily by making it so he gets his super in one less hit, or buffing his super damage, or you could just simply buff his attack damage, because when you jump on an opponent, you just deal no damage. The only thing that's good about it is trying to recharge that super again so you get another knockback. So yeah, Primo probably needs a few changes. So next up on the buff wish list, we have Ash. So again, another brawler that is just being dominated across the board right now. He's pretty much a free killer every single time, and I think probably the best way to buff him is just making it so his rage increases a little bit faster, so he's able to ramp up and get to his maximum damage, because it just feels like there's just so many Edgars and Fangs that can just dash straight onto him, and there's just no way for him to respond. Okay, so jumping into the last brawler on the buff wish list, we have Kit. So I'm not hoping for too many buffs to Kit, because of course we don't want Kit to return to the former glory of just being broken, but I want some buffs to Kit. So the first one, which might be a little bit surprised, is hopefully a rework to the star power. So the showdown star power is a little bit too, I don't know, just doesn't make sense to me. I like the choice of 2 star powers. I know there's other brawlers in the game like Gene and Surge, which you have 1 good star power in showdown and 1 good star power in 3v3, but it's literally limited. You only get use out of it in showdown. That just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I know a majority of players do play showdown, but Kit is a support brawler. You know, Kit isn't supposed to be good in showdown. I know there's a bug that made Kit broken, but support brawlers shouldn't be good. Like, you don't see Pocos running around in showdown destroying everyone, right? It's just how that meta is. So you don't need a star power to buff it. I think you should just rework it and give Kit a shield, maybe when they attach to an opponent, like a 30% shield or something. I think that'll be a nice change. I just don't think there should be a showdown star power. But anyways, that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Let me know whether there should be any more buffs, nerfs that I missed out on. But I think I pretty much hit the nail on the head. And of course, I didn't really go into detail on some of the reworks, but maybe I could do that in a future video. So that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.